At the end of every year, we wrap up the State of the Meetings industry with a State of the Nation interview with Bruce MacMillan, President and CEO of MPI. Bruce, what a year.
It certainly has been. I think our industry in a lot of ways came of age. We learned, I think, a lot about ourselves, and I think we're going to come away, we're going to look back on this year as a year that changed us, I believe, for the positive. And it's just what we do with what we learned in the coming year that's really going to define us.
Meetings mean business, the industry's collaborative counterattack against media criticism. Success?
I believe on many fronts, and the leadership also that U.S. Travel showed in really galvanizing an industry that, quite appropriately was seen as being fragmented. We were legitimately under some criticism. We know what the power of this industry is, but we just couldn't tell the story in a way that resonated with the public, that resonated with legislators. But by bringing us all together, by collaborating, combining resources, aligning all our message channels, we made a difference. And I think it became something that very powerful that now we can continue to use for other purposes on the go forward.
Now, the MPI Foundation has just collected the Power and Profile Award from JMIC for the economic impact study conducted in Canada. But it's more than just looking at it from perhaps the economic impact from a tourism perspective. The industry also needs to be assessed in terms of its impact on economic development and education.
Well, I think it really is two parts of the story. I think first we do have to tell the economic story because that resonates a lot with politicians. It resonates a lot with the media. How many jobs, how much tax revenue. MPI Foundation Canada and Merits put together arguably the definitive methodology upon which other countries are now looking at it, and including as a result of that collaboration that you referred to earlier, in the United States, we're also putting one together with all the meeting industry associations. So that tells part of the story. The second part is really how we change the world. And the economics of it, but also the way knowledge gets developed. Great example, in some countries, they want the social benefits, the economic benefits, but other countries want the knowledge and economic development benefits. They want to have meetings and events that align with their economy, but it also helps people in their countries learn from the best and brightest in the world. And that's an investment in the future of their economy. That's what our industry does, and it's not something that we talk about a lot.
When we were at Dreamtime, Professor Roy Green from Sydney University was fairly critical, in actual fact, of Australia's inability to reinvest its resource dividends into a knowledge-based economy propped up on education and technical and scientific development.
I think one of the great opportunities for our industry in the coming years is taking all of this social mass mingling technology, and how do we align that with the face-to-face experience, or how do we combine the two to create accelerated learning experiences, accelerated relationship development, and really new learning and innovation opportunities. That's what a lot of people are increasingly realize is the power of this industry.
Talking to a lot of friends that we've made here at EIBTM, everybody's very glad to see the back of 2009. But Bruce, I have to ask a question. Is it going to get any better in 2010?
Our American Express business barometer for the since we really bottomed out, we're seeing slow but continuous improvement. In February, only 8% of the 1,000 or so executives that we survey internationally saw improvement. Now, in October, that number's at 34%. So we're seeing great growth in the future. Our Future Watch study that's just wrapping up now shows much the same. What people expect is a continued slow growth in the first 6 months of 2010. But then after about June, the expectations are a more accelerated growth. And they clearly see it coming back, but it's going to come back a little bit differently, James. I think what we have to come to grips with is budgets are going to be tight for the foreseeable future. On some key things, the elements of delight that people have gotten used to are just not going to be on the table anymore. But those elements in a meeting or event that drive performance, whether it's a great speaker, whether it's technology that extends the meeting outside the venue, they are going to see increased investment. And why not? It's got to be more about performance than just about the hospitality experience.
Before we started this, you came up with this delicious expression that said, carbon carelessness is not sustainable.
It would be really easy to think that in the challenging economic times we saw things like sustainability and corporate social responsibility, suffer the budget cuts. But that's exactly the wrong thing that happened. In fact, McKinsey's recently done a survey of CEOs, and to the contrary, CEOs are saying, hey, sustainability efforts are more important now than ever because they improve business performance. They actually save money. So What do we as meeting and event professionals take from that? Well, if we're seen to be carbon careless, we're going to suffer much the same challenges that we suffered earlier this year for some other issues. So we are working very aggressively with our foundation to create some tools. The industry, again, is collaborating around the development of common standards. We're all collaborating around them, and I think it's something that if we don't pay attention to it, we are going to suffer because we'll get regulated to pay attention to it, if not.
And do you think that this collaboration will lead to a single set of standards, a single set of protocols, and perhaps a single voice of advocacy for the industry?
I think that towards the standards, we're moving in that direction. The Convention Industry Council has brought a lot of the organizations together. We're working that way, and we're very close to getting those first set of standards done. And that's what how we're going to build our tool around that. And I think people. My sense is that meeting event professionals want to know the standards so they can measure against them. Not knowing the standard is really tough because then you're on your own. But I think what more education around what sustainability means, not just from an environmental standpoint, but from a social standpoint. Because remember, research is showing right now that corporations are probably amongst the least trusted entities on the planet. So corporations are now taking ways to rebuild their brand, their corporate images, and corporate social responsibility is a big, big part of that. And meetings and events touch their consumers, their customers, more than anything else.
Bruce, thank you for that. And we look forward to seeing you and the team at Meet Different in Cancun in February.
That's the place where innovation, where we're going to talk about the future of our industry.
Bruce, thanks ever so much.
Thanks, James.